welcome to the podcast, Cody.
Thanks for having me.
I guess we'll just kind of jump into this elephant in the room. Cody is joining the podcast today. Cody is my ex-husband, but also my boyfriend, I guess. That's weird to say. I don't know. We did a hard launch when we were in Paris. And so we're together and we're going to see if we can make the relationship work. And he's going to be joining the podcast regularly. We don't know really the cadence, but he'll be on the podcast more than he has been, just as kind of like on the solo episodes. And I don't know. So welcome.
Thanks. Unless this performs really poorly, and then I don't ever have to be on it again.
No, I think this one's going to be a good one. I'm excited. So first, I want to like, how are you doing? How are you doing after the vacation? Because I have an answer ready for me, but I should ask you first.
I am just adjusting. I feel like it's just waking up from a fever dream, pretty much. Just the chaos of the last 2 weeks, and the jet lag's worn off, and just trying to get back into the swing of things.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, we're 7 days. We've been home for 7 days because we got home last Tuesday.
Oh yeah, we have.
Yeah, it's been a couple days after coming home. I was so stressed out. I mean, I'm still stressed out, but I do feel a little bit more calm today. I would say I have more time. But coming back from vacation, and I know you feel this way too, but all of the work that I didn't do for those 2 weeks, like with the podcast and like with brands and those types of things, like all of those things just kind of added up over that time. And then it was like I got back and I had all these deliverables. We had no childcare last week, except for I did ask my mom like last minute, like, can you help me with the girls? Because I was kind of in a bind and I felt like I was going to have a mental breakdown because I just had all of these deadlines that I had to meet like the day after I got back or the following day. And love my job. I love what I do. Everything kind of relies on you though. Like when you're a business owner, it's like as much work as you put into your business is what you get in return. And so that's kind of a lot of pressure. So I was feeling just like so burned out, really stressed out. And we had like 6 or 7 loads of laundry to do. And then we lost our bag as well. One of our bags on the return flight didn't even get on the airplane. The Amsterdam airport was very disorganized when we got there. Like it was so busy. I don't know like if that's normal or if it like what it was, but they lost one of our bags. So then we didn't have like most of our clothes and laundry. And so that was like a little stressful anyway. And then just adjusting back to regular life with the kids and not having childcare. And just, I feel like I'm kind of struggling with the kids right now.
Yeah, and for my job, it's the same. Nobody covers my work when I'm out, so it just builds up.
Yeah.
So I accumulate 2 weeks worth of work, and then I just got to keep doing the work as I get back too, as well. So, yeah, it's been very challenging in that way. And then the bag that was lost was the bag with a majority of our clothes.
Yeah, because
in
it was like
too.
all of our dirty laundry, which is like
Yeah.
most of the clothes that we had on the trip. So I know. Luckily, we got it the following day, which was like fine, I guess. But it was just like another thing that just kind of like added to the stress of coming back and not having everything we needed and then not having, enough clothes for the kids. Like we were gone for 14 days. And so I brought a lot of, especially like the kids' clothes, because the kids' clothes, like, I don't know how other people are, but I don't I don't buy the kids a lot of clothes. Like they wear the same like 5 or 6 outfits. And, so that's like basically all they had. They're just wearing like mismatching clothes for a couple days. And then yeah, I just feel like I'm really struggling with the kids right now. Where we've talked about this, but like we were on this trip for 14 days on a trip with kids. Like you don't get any breaks really. I mean, you're going nonstop from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep. I was sick twice on the trip. We'll like get into that. But I was just like really burned out and then coming home and being stressed. And I feel like the kids could kind of like pick up on that, which was probably furthering making them act out or, they're adjusting to jet lag and being home and they're probably overstimulated. I'm overstimulated. They're picking up on that energy. I'm like, I feel like I've just been like really short tempered with them. Like I'm really quick to snap just because I don't feel like I've been having my needs met the last couple of
Right.
weeks just because we've been on this trip. It's like you can't really get away from anyone. And I'm very introverted too. So I don't know. That was like a really long rant, my feelings. So
Yeah, I think, and especially Harper, she's becoming more observant about what's
yeah.
going on, and
Mm-hmm.
that's another thing, during the trip, and she's kind of just becoming a little adult,
Yeah.
trying to just make everything go smoothly, and very observant and very aware of what's
Yeah.
going on, and that adds a lot of pressure as a parent,
Yeah, well, she's been saying things recently where, I mean, I'm just going to be like honest and transparent here. This is like pretty vulnerable and like kind of makes me feel like a shitty mom, but she'll ask me quite a bit, like almost every day, I feel like recently, like where she's like, Mom, what's wrong? And like, so she's like just more self aware, like aware of her surroundings. She's probably self aware too, but like aware of her surroundings and aware of other people's moods. And when I'm feeling tired and stressed out and whatever I'm feeling, like I feel like she can feel it and she can articulate that, where she's like recognizing it and can ask me like those questions. And the last thing I want to do as a parent is to put my feelings and my emotions and things that are going on with me personally onto my child. I feel like, oh my God, like I'm fucking my kids up. Like I'm fucking her up. Like I don't want, she should be a child. She shouldn't even be aware of like my feelings and how like it just makes you feel really shitty. So I'm trying, and we talked about this too, but like I think I do need to add another day of childcare, or we need to add another day of childcare, because when I quit my corporate job, I was like, oh yeah, I'll be able to get everything I need to get done for social media and the business and my podcast done in 3 days, because we have 3 days of childcare. And then I'll be able to be with my kids more, and I'll have that perfect balance of being like kind of working part-time, but also making a full-time income, and then also being with my kids because they're only little once. It's just not that way. Like running a business and doing the things that I'm doing, it really is a full-time job. And I've just been stretching myself too thin. And at the end of the day, like a better way of parenting, in my opinion, at least for us, is like have an additional day of childcare so I can get what I need to get done. My weekends can be free where I've been working like every weekend. And also like in our custody like schedule before, I would just like do all of my work basically when the kids were with you, and then when they were home with me I would only do like a few things here and there when they were at school or with my mom. But I just need more childcare, and it's better to put them in childcare and be a more present, happier mom rather than have them be home with me more and I'm stressed out, anxious, snapping at them. It's just better for everyone, and it's just like a really hard thing to admit as a mom.
No, I think it's a very real thing. I felt it the same. When the kids were with you, then I can focus on my things that I wanted to do. Um, going to the gym was much easier. Hobbies, going to hockey, stuff like that was just much easier to do. I mean, I'm not running a business and stuff like that, but I have a career that I work on. It's basically the same whether I have the kids or not. But now that we don't get those breaks and it's just like full time with the kids, it's much more difficult.
Yeah, it's like, when do we go to the gym? That's like another question that we've had. And
4 a.m.
well, yeah. And I think people like, now that we're like talking about it, people are probably thinking, oh, are you guys living together? Because we're not doing like a custody schedule. We're like talking about not having like breaks or times off. Cody's just been staying over more at my house. Like even before our trip, he was staying over, not full time, but so he has been over here more, and we just don't have the same breaks as we used to. And obviously, like you guys, everyone who's listening, who's been married or in a relationship with kids, like knows that your time is very limited when you have kids. And when you're divorced, you do, even though you're like on 24/7 when you have them on your custody, you do, I mean, there's light at the end of the tunnel because you're going to get like a good stretch of time where you have a break. And we're both just kind of used to that because we've been living that way for almost 2 years now.
Yeah, I'm sorry for outing that.
No, it's okay. It's fine. It just like came up, and it's not like a big deal to me. I don't really care. Yeah, because we're just trying in the relationship. And yeah, and I guess I didn't mention this before, but like the reason why I did the hard launch, I wasn't planning on doing that, but we were on this trip and people were like, oh, you're with Cody. Like, give me all the co-parenting tips. And, how do you go on vacation with your ex? You're going to be with him for 2 weeks, blah, 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 blah. Like people had all these questions, and it just felt like disingenuous and icky for me to pretend that we weren't in a relationship. We weren't trying, we're not dating each other. Like this is the first trip that we've taken where we haven't been just co-parents. We have gone on co-parenting trips in the past,
Right.
but it just didn't feel right for people to think that. I just always want to be honest and transparent on my page. And then like in that same breath, it's hard when you put so much out there publicly about your life, and some things are meant to be kept more private. And so I don't know. I just felt like, okay, it's like time and brace ourselves, because we didn't know like what the reaction would be, but it was actually very positive.
Yeah, and a bunch of people would follow me on my private Insta account, and just ask if we were back together. And, I would let you know about those times because I didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to cause any problems. And then I just like wouldn't respond, or, just kind of some small response, and I could give them the answer they wanted.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
they would just unfollow me, because they didn't get the answer they wanted. So yeah, I mean, we weren't expecting it, and we've had a lot of conversations about it too, about how we wanted to do this.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, so today's topic, you guys, we're going to talk about traveling with kids and like just doing like a full debrief of the vacation. So the trip that we took, I was just going to say, this is the third time that we've recorded this, because the first time we didn't. It stopped recording after 12 minutes. The second time we recorded, the kids were at home. We tried to do it on the weekend because I'm just scrambling to like get the podcast out because it's been 2 weeks anyway. But our kids just kept coming in and needing things, and they had already been watching their tablets for an hour. And with our 3-year-old, it's like a tablet in screen time only goes so far. Like she won't be entertained by that for longer than an hour at most. And so at that point, like she just kept coming in. She wanted me to hold her. She was like trying to talk in the mic, and we were just like kind of feeling like overstimulated and overwhelmed, and just like, so we just decided we would record it again for a third times.
This is it. This is the final time.
Yeah, but the kids are at school, so we won't be interrupted by them. But okay, so we just got back from a 2-week vacation. We went to Europe. We spent 3 days in Paris, and then we went on a cruise out of the Netherlands through Norway. There was 4 stops in Norway to see the fjords. And then we spent 3 days in Amsterdam, right? And then we came home.
Yeah.
And then there was like a travel day. We went on the trip with my family. So my dad invited us to go on this trip. My mom was there, dad, my 5 siblings, which is very rare for all of us to get together, be together at the same time. So it was a treat that all of us were together. And then of course, like all, the girls' cousins and all of that. So there was a bunch of people on the trip. It was really fun. Let's talk about the flight.
Okay.
Any thoughts on the flight?
Well, I think you alluded to it, in one of your posts that Daphne sat with you. So
yeah,
the flight
our
for
3-year-old,
me,
yeah.
Yeah, the flight for me was easier because, Harper just kind of does her thing. She'll watch her tablet, play the games on the flight.
Yeah.
She's just very low maintenance and chill. I thought it was going to be much more difficult with Daphne than it was, but I thought it actually went really well with that bed you got.
Yeah.
For the melatonin. I didn't sleep. Harper didn't sleep, but
yeah,
the flight itself, I think I built it up to be something bigger than it actually ended up being.
Yeah, I think I did too. And a lot of people gave me that like tip and recommendation is like, don't, because I did ask on Instagram stories. I was like, I'm really stressed out about this. We've never taken a flight like this with our kids. Like, what do I do? Do I give them melatonin? When do I give them the melatonin? It's a 10-hour flight. Are they going to sleep the whole flight? Would I rather have them sleep early in the flight or later? Like,
and we got into Paris at 9 a.m.
Yeah, and we got in. Yeah, and we left at like 3:00. So it was an overnight. I just didn't know what to expect, and so I think I was like building it up to be this really stressful thing. And I've had so many situations on shorter flights with the kids where it has been a complete nightmare, where like, and they were younger. So it's, it was a little different, but like there's times where Daphne threw up all over me when she was a baby, when we were landing, we were like the very last row and they wouldn't let us get off. There's just like vomit all over me. There's been times where the headphones haven't worked because I didn't bring the cord. I thought the Bluetooth would work, and like the Bluetooth on those cheap headphones is like hit or miss. So that you weren't on that flight. It was with Harper. There was one where I had like her water bottle with Sprite, and because of the altitude change, when I opened it, it exploded all over her. This was when she was 4, and she just like completely lost her shit, and it was like a nightmare. So I've just had a lot of bad experiences on flights, like basically every flight I've had with the kids. So I was just kind of anticipating that, and it went really well, actually. So we did give Daphne, well, we gave both girls melatonin probably like a couple hours into the flight, and Daphne slept for 7 hours going out there, and then on the return flight she slept for 5. And with the return flight, it wasn't an overnight, and again, I didn't really know how to handle it because we had just slept for 8 hours, and then it's like, oh well, I don't really want her to be awake for 10 hours on this flight because she's 3 and the tablet's only going to take her so far. So, we did decide to give her the melatonin, and it worked out. It worked great. We had to give her melatonin after we got home too that night because she was not tired at all, but we just, got to do what you got to do, I guess.
And that shit was awesome because it actually like kicked in really fast.
I know.
And
just like looked over and she's just gone.
Yeah, we
I
lost.
check her breathing. I'm just, of course, my anxiety just kicks in, and I'm like, oh my God. Even though we tested it before, like, and it's safe for kids. Like, she's at an age where she can with the one we got, but yeah.
Yeah, and we lost the melatonin that we took over there. So we had to go get.
Yeah, well, and we don't know what happened to it. I was like, did we leave it on the cruise ship, or did the kids, I just put it in a Ziploc baggie because I didn't want to, this was like a parenting fail, but I didn't want to bring the big container of it that has like the child lock on it because we're limited in space. And so I just put it in the Ziploc baggie, and then I put it in my toiletry bag, and then all of a sudden it's gone. And I'm like, did the kids somehow get into it? And like, there was only a couple in there. It's not like I brought a lot, but then I'm like wondering, like, did they think it was just like a snack and they opened it and like ate it?
I mean, they didn't really sleep on the trip, so I doubt they ate it. So
maybe one of the cousins.
Yeah, who was especially tired?
I wasn't that aware of the trip.
But then we had to get that other melatonin in Amsterdam, and it's all in Dutch, and we're trying to see what the dosage is.
Yeah, we had to ask to make sure we got like the right one, the kids one. We did, so it was fine. Yeah, and that little bed, if you have a toddler, like a little, like a 2, like 1, 2, even 3-year-old, like that bed, I'll link it in the show notes, but I showed it on my Instagram stories. It's a blow up bed. It blows up in like less than 5 minutes. It has like a little hand pump, and then it deflates in less than 5 minutes too. Like, and it just like changed the whole flight for us.
Yeah, it was Harper's too big for it.
Harper's too big.
So she couldn't use it.
Yeah, I thought that it would work for like her, like at least she could stretch her legs out, but her legs are still too long. Yeah, and so then when we landed in Paris, we went, I'm trying to decide like what I want to say right now because there's so much. Yeah, so I guess just like the jet lag we can talk about. I feel like it, like, what did you think about jet lag?
I think we just kind of powered through. You know, it didn't hit right away. I think you're just going and doing so much that you just fight through it, Yeah. I felt like that time we went to Spain, it was worse.
Really?
Yeah, when you were pregnant with Harper.
Yeah.
I felt like it was worse then, but I feel like just like having kids, it kind of just forces you to push through.
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't really seem to affect them as much as I thought. Yeah.
I think the kids, and other people said this to me as well, like kids will adjust better than you will on jet lag. And I 100% agree with that. And it's hard for me to really know how my body was affected by jet lag because I got sick like on day 2 or like it was like day 2 or 3. It was day 3. In Paris, I got sick. I had a sore throat. I completely lost my voice, like where my voice sounded robotic. And so I got sick. And so it was hard to know, like, am I still jet lagged or is this the sickness? I'm sure it was like partially both. I do feel like day 5 and 6 were the worst days for me as far as like jet lag and just being like really tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just felt tired the whole trip.
I know.
Just being, on a trip with very demanding kids and just a lot going on. So it's hard to differentiate between, jet lag and just exhaustion of a trip.
Yeah. How do you think the kids did overall on the trip?
That's also hard just because, I mean, we were just going so much.
Yeah.
So I think it was hard just being out so much. We weren't close to where we were staying in Paris. So, it would take like an hour to an hour and a half to get into the heart of the city. Traffic was insane.
Yeah.
So there pretty upset in the car by the time we get there. It's a lot of walking around.
Yeah.
It's not very stroller friendly either. Whenever we'd get to the big stairs and Daphne's in the stroller, I would just have to pick the stroller
There's
up.
like no lifts. Yeah.
Yeah, carry her up a bunch of flights of stairs in the stroller. But when their cousins were around, I mean, they were better.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Well, and also like with the stroller, we have this really great travel stroller, which folds up really small, which was a game changer on our trip because like you want to have your stroller when you're out and about, but then also there's like when we went to the Eiffel Tower, you can't just like take a stroller up. You have to fold it up. It has to be foldable in order to take it up there. And so, and it was very lightweight where we could, carry it and it wasn't a big deal. Or like when Daphne didn't want to be in the stroller, there were times where she didn't want to be. She wanted to run around and be with her cousins and like explore whatever. But I feel like the kids did really well, but the kids just wanted to swim and they just wanted to be with their cousins. Like they didn't care about going into the city or seeing the Eiffel Tower or they didn't care about any of that, going to a museum. Like definitely don't go to a museum with your kids when they're that young. Like we saw the Louvre, walked around, but we didn't go inside because I just knew it would be a train wreck.
She was melting down out there. And my advice for people is if you want to truly experience the city and the culture and the sights and go to museums and see things and you really want to enjoy it, don't take your kids.
Yeah.
Because I mean, this sounds really rude, but they kind of just ruin the experience for you, because I mean, they just wanted to be at the hotel and swim. And then when we were on the ship, they just wanted to go to the kids club.
Yeah. Well, and the cruise was better because we did have the kids club. So we had childcare and we're also fortunate where we went on this trip with my family. So there were, I think 3 nights where my mom watched our girls so we could go out to dinner in Paris, just me and you. Then we went out in Amsterdam and then there was like one other night, I can't remember, but like, so that was very helpful. But could you imagine going on that trip and you have like, and it's just like our family of 4? Like, I don't think I would have opted to do that type of vacation with just our small family.
No, I mean, you need someone to kind of relieve you, Yeah. We talked about this yesterday, like when you see your kids sleeping and, you don't want to wake them up because you just know that it's just going to set you like on this crash course for the day.
Yeah.
And, you kind of just enjoy your last few moments of peace.
Yeah. I feel that way when I pick them up from school. I'm like, or I was feeling that way when we were picking them up from the kids club, like on the cruise. Because we could only have them in there like a maximum of like 2 or 3 hours. And then there would be like an hour break for the people to have lunch or whatever. And there were times where I was just like, I love my kids and I want to see them and I want to be with them, but I'm also terrified and like don't want to pick them up at the same time because I know that they're going to be whining and they're going to be fighting and they're going to be asking for nonstop ice cream. And it's not going to be relaxing. Is there something wrong with me? Is there something wrong with our kids? Like what is going on?
I think most people feel like this. They just don't talk about it because they feel like they'll be perceived as somebody who hates being a parent, which is simply not the case. Like I love my kids. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Right.
I enjoyed so much of the trip with them, just seeing them running around and being excited. And, it was great, but it's also very difficult. And they're massive pains in the ass sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. There's just so many other moms and parents that just make it look easy. We did go to a restaurant in Amsterdam though, and this actually kind of made me feel better. So we went to a restaurant in Amsterdam. It really wasn't kid friendly at all. By the way, I asked like in the restaurant, I was like, oh, do you have any like chicken nuggets? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, well, kids would just eat some fries, I guess. We just ordered fries for them. And then this other family like had freaking chicken nuggets at their table. I'm like, did you like, I don't know if there's a language barrier, like what that was all about. But this other family, there was this young family. They had 2 kids even younger than ours, like a baby and then like maybe a 2 or 3-year-old. And their 3-year-old like knocked over a glass and it shattered and broke outside. And like I could just, when I was looking at the parents and like I have no judgment like towards anyone, parenting wise. I'm like, your parents are just doing the best that they can. But sometimes it does make me feel better as a parent when I see another parent struggling because I feel like so often I don't see parents struggling in public with their kids and it can make you feel alone and it can make you feel isolated. It can make you feel like there's something wrong. But it did kind of make me feel like, okay, like maybe my experience as a parent is normal, especially because we were in another country. These were Dutch parents. They're not they weren't American. And so it's like, okay, like all of us parents are the same no matter where we live or whatever.
Children universally are difficult.
Yeah.
I think that's what I took from that. You see it as well, because I feel sometimes like our kids are more difficult than others, but then when you see like others, I think I'm just so absorbed in like what our kids are doing that I don't notice like what other families are doing with their kids misbehaving. And like at the Louvre, Daphne had an epic meltdown at the Louvre, and your mom's like, do this no touristy photo, and I'm just standing there.
Oh my God, that was like my favorite moment of the whole trip, like where my mom is like making you do all the touristy things. I could tell you were so uncomfortable.
I have so much social anxiety, it's crazy. And then added to that is the stress of like my kid melting down. And
I was watching them though, and letting you do your thing, and like letting you have the moment, and that was honestly my favorite part of the whole experience.
Yeah, and your mom's like, oh, no, let's take it again. Go stand over here.
It wasn't perfect. This is a better spot.
Higher. And,
my mom is so sweet. She just wants all the memories.
No, and I do appreciate that about her, and you as well. We do travel differently. You like having an itinerary and going. I like more of a relaxed type vacation with, kind of just winging it. But I appreciate how you travel, because I got to experience so much more of, Paris and Norway and Amsterdam, because you're like, let's go see all these things. And even when we didn't want to because we were tired or frustrated, we went and did that stuff. And I am very thankful for that.
I feel like it's a delicate balance, because I actually admire the way that you like to travel and just kind of chill. I feel like it's my own anxiety inside of me where, like, as a person, I just need to know what to expect in my day. I like to have an itinerary. I like to know what to expect. If I don't know what's going on, it just triggers like this anxiety where I'm like, what's going on? What are we doing? Are we going to make the most out of our time here? Like, what's everyone else doing? And that's another thing, is like traveling on this trip, because there were so many people in my family. There were times where we did want to go out with, my brother and his kids, because we wanted to spend time with them. And then my kids want to be with their cousins. But, because of different things, it's just hard to arrange. But I wish, one regret I have about this trip is just putting too much pressure on seeing things, like seeing too much, seeing everything. You don't need to see everything, and you really have to like temper your expectations, because in reality, like when we went into Paris, and I guess we didn't like explain why we were staying so far away from like the central area of Paris. So we initially were going to go to Disney Paris. So we were staying over by Disneyland, which is about 45 minutes normally, but with traffic, it's like an hour and 15 minutes. Especially, I guess the traffic was even worse because of the upcoming Olympics. When we decided last minute, like not to go to Disney Paris, we didn't change our hotel. Logistically with that many people, it was really hard. And I think my dad had already made the arrangements, and like, we just didn't do it for whatever reason, and that's fine. But had we stayed in the city, I feel like it would have been a different experience, because we wouldn't have spent 3 hours driving each day. Before we even got into the city, we were like kind of tired and exhausted and having to figure out parking and all of that. So that's definitely something that I wish we would have done differently. And then on top of that, I wish there just wasn't all this expectation. Like, we need to go to the Eiffel Tower and we need to see this and that and this. Like, I wish we would have just like enjoyed the city more, gone to the park, got some baguettes, made a little picnic, and just like enjoyed where we were.
Yeah, and we did that little river cruise, which was cool.
Yeah, I liked that a lot. You got
to see so much of the city, and, just things that, it would take you longer to visit each one individually. And you're not actually going up into these places, but you get to see them from the river, which was really great.
I liked that. Yeah, because there's no way like you can go and see all of the sites around the city, especially with kids, because it's just so hard to travel. So I did like that river cruise a lot. I'm trying to think what else about Paris. I don't know. I loved it. I love the city. I've been there a couple times before. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I really enjoyed Paris. I wish we had more time there.
Yeah, and our dinner was great.
Oh my God, our dinner was beautiful. Beautiful restaurant. Like, it was amazing. The view was just crazy, so beautiful. I do wish we were able to see the Eiffel Tower lights at night, but it doesn't get dark. I didn't realize this. It doesn't get dark until like 11 p.m. or like between like 10:30 and 11 p.m. And because we just had such a long commute back to the hotel, I was like, well, we won't see it this time. It's all right.
Yeah, Versailles would have been cool as well.
Yeah, I didn't dare take the kids there though. No. Like, they would have just wanted to run around like outside, which would be fine, like on the grounds, but inside it would have just been a struggle. I have some like list of like difficult things on the trip. just like we kind of like touched on this a little bit, but like just the constant overstimulation and just nonstop going is a lot.
Yeah. Well, and the kids, as soon as they wake up, they just want to see their cousins. They want to go
Yeah.
swimming. They want to eat ice cream. And it just starts from the second they wake up.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was saying, as soon as you wake them up, they're just going to be like 100,
Yeah.
just going for it. So that was hard, just 2 straight weeks of that.
Yeah.
Can you see the trauma in my eyes?
I'm trying to think. One thing that I like doing on the cruise, if you guys ever go on a cruise, is make sure to order breakfast in the morning.
Yes.
Because to get even something small in your kid's stomach and not feel like you have to like quickly get them up and dressed and then go, like upstairs to the buffet, like it's just a lot. So that was one thing that I really liked about the cruise. And it doesn't cost any extra.
No, and it gives you time to get ready and,
Yeah.
So yeah, because immediately when they wake up, it's just going. So I think we did that like towards the end for the last few days.
Yeah.
Which was good.
Yeah. What was your favorite part of the whole trip?
Just all of Norway.
Oh yeah, I love Norway. Pretty.
We were in Oslo on like a Monday or Tuesday. It was the middle of the day, and we live in Utah, and I work downtown in Salt Lake, and Salt Lake on a Monday, just people are running around. It feels very stressful. Just this crazy sense of urgency. And Oslo was the complete opposite.
Yeah,
everyone was just seemed relaxed. The city was like quiet.
Yeah,
just chill. I actually started looking up, how we can immigrate to Norway, which is very difficult, but
yeah,
we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I loved Norway. I loved just the feeling I got in each of the ports. Like it just felt very calm and peaceful. The culture is not that way in the United States at all. I can't speak for everywhere in the United States, but everywhere that I've been when I've traveled and like where I live, it does feel very busy and stressful. And I feel like I need less of that and more peace. And it just felt really clean. Like all the cities were very clean. And I don't know, I just felt happy there.
Yeah, just beautiful architecture. The mountains were insane. And just kind of walking around the city, it just felt just calm and relaxing. There weren't tons of people out like there were in Paris and Amsterdam. You're not crossing these busy streets. So I would have to say that was for sure far and away my favorite.
Yeah, well, and it was really stressful in Paris and then also Amsterdam because the streets are so narrow, especially in Amsterdam because we were walking around the city more than we were in Paris. But the streets are so narrow. There are just cars and bikes and mopeds just buzzing around everywhere. And when you have a feral 3-year-old that just wants to do her own thing, she doesn't want to hold mom's hand. She just wants to run around. She sees a pigeon and she just wants to chase the pigeon like right into the middle of like an intersection. And if you try to stop her, she'll punch you in the face. Like that was like pretty stressful. There was like a couple situations where she almost got hit, right? And you like pulled her back and then she like yelled at you.
Yeah, that kid has no survival instincts at all. Yeah, you took them to the bathroom and then I was going back to our table, which, we have the restaurant here and then there's like a little narrow road that's very busy. There's like little motorcycles running down it, people on bikes, cars just flying down this very narrow road. And then right across is where our table was, And
it was the cutest little restaurant though, too.
Yeah. And she just tried to book it right across. And then I grabbed her and she just started attacking the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And almost got nailed by a car.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I really enjoyed Amsterdam a lot.
Yeah.
The city was just beautiful. I mean, it was busier than like Norway and that. But it was just everywhere that you look, just all the canals and the buildings. Like it wasn't just like one area. Like I feel like that happens a lot in cities where it's like one central area has like, like everything that you see like on a postcard, but it was the entire city that was just beautiful, and the canals and the buildings and just the little cute little cafes on the side and restaurants right by the canal. Like we're just so cute.
The sunsets, remember those?
The sunsets were beautiful there. Yes, absolutely stunning. The other thing I wanted to say is like we did go to the Anne Frank house. We took our kids to that, and I'm so glad that we did that. Like our little one, Daphne, our 3-year-old, she was a little bit of a handful, but I feel like it was really good for Harper because we had a conversation before we went out to go to the museum. I was talked to the girls in our room and said, this is where we're going. And it's really important that we are quiet and we use our inside voices. We don't run around like just trying to set it up, And Harper was asking some like really good questions about it. And like I could I could see her brain just like kind of working. Obviously, that's like a really difficult conversation to have with your kids. And she's 6, almost 7. And as a parent, sometimes it's like, you need to have these conversations with your kids at some point, but no one really prepares you for that. And there's not a handbook that says like, when they turn this age, start having conversations about this and that, and it's, obviously talked to her about it in an age appropriate way and didn't go into like the full details of things. But I thought it was really powerful that we were able to take the kids there and not be afraid of history, and really just like open that up and explain to her like kind of what happened and why it's important to remember.
Yeah, she seemed very involved,
very interested. She was really good through the whole thing.
There was a part where, because we got our headsets, and they weren't giving headsets to the kids there, and
we also didn't know like what was going to be on like the virtual tour. I didn't know how much detail they were going to go in. I didn't know if they were going to be talking about like a lot of death or like how they were, any of that. And so I was like, oh, I don't want to give them one because I don't know like what it's going to say, and I want to control what they're hearing. I want them to be traumatized.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Daphne.
Sorry to interrupt, but just wanted to say that.
No, and we had that reservation, but our kids obviously demanded that they had a headset.
Yeah, of course.
They got theirs, and then
of course, then we just gave in. We're just like, okay, we said no, but now the answer is yes.
You might hear some fucked up shit on here, but I'm not gonna have you have a meltdown in the Anne Frank house. Yes. So, but Daphne, she's walking through and she has her headset on, and she takes her headphones out and she just like looks at this woman and she's like, over 6 million Jews. She says to the lady.
Harper did, or
Daphne?
Oh,
yeah, like she was just baffled by that part that she heard, and the lady started laughing because Daphne didn't really understand.
She doesn't understand like what's being said. She just heard like words and is just repeating them.
Yeah. But and she loved just scanning and stuff. But she behaved much better than I thought she would.
She was better. Like she was a little all over the place, but I think considering, she was really good. I'm really proud of us for doing that. And then let's talk about the Taylor Swift concert. So we went to the Taylor Swift concert. I was sick that day. I had the flu the night before. This was like the last night on the cruise. I got sick. I was throwing up all night. And then in the morning, like when we got off the ship, I was feeling like a tiny bit better, where I wasn't like vomiting all the time. And then I threw up in the cab from the port, from the hotel. Yeah. And like they charged, oh my God, it was just so, I can't even think about how much the taxi was.
Like I was such a dick too.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, I threw up in his car. I did have bags. I knew, I was like, there's a high likelihood I'm going to throw up in this car. So I grabbed some bags from the cruise ship, but the bags were just like very weak and just, it really wasn't that bad. I don't want to be like graphic, but I didn't eat anything really that morning. So it's not like it was like horrible.
It could have been worse.
Yeah. It was like mainly water, but still it's vomit. So.
But he was saying,
how many times can I say vomit or throw up?
We're up to like 9. No, but he was saying, he's not upset that it happened because he needs to clean his car anyways, that it was dirty.
Maybe he's just trying to make me feel better though.
Yeah, and then he tried to,
because I was very embarrassed.
Then he tried to gouge us with like a €250 cleaning fee.
Yeah, on top of the taxi, which was already €250. Because I didn't dare. I just wanted to get to the hotel. I didn't want to go on the train. We could have taken a taxi to the train station, then train station to Amsterdam, and then another taxi, and it would have saved us a bunch of money. But I was like not feeling well. I'm like, I will just pay. Like, let's just pay for the taxi. Like it's expensive, but like I'm not doing well. And then vomited, and it ended up costing, he did bring it down €100. So, but it was still so expensive. I just like don't even want to think about how much money we spent. We spent so much money in taxis and food. Yeah. That's the other thing is like, if you go stay in an Airbnb where there's like a kitchen, it will save you so much money, and no one wants to take their kids out to restaurants multiple times a day. That was a nightmare and it sucked. Oh, yeah. I hated it.
There was that really nice restaurant we got breakfast at in Amsterdam.
I know, the kid-friendly one.
Yeah,
I posted that on my stories. It's on my highlight because I think it was called the Pancake House, but it was very kid-friendly. They had these princess pancakes, and they brought out like these little princess toys for the girls. I didn't know it was going to come with that, and
coloring books.
The
food was phenomenal too.
Yeah, the food was really good. It was really busy. It was at this cute little area in the city, so I highly recommend that. Okay, let's talk. Okay, so going back to Taylor Swift concert. So I was sick that night. And I was this close to just selling my tickets because I didn't feel well, but then I knew I was going to lose so much money trying to get rid of the tickets the same day. And I was just like, nope, I just need to rally. I just need to like, I wasn't throwing up at that point. It was just like I felt a little sick. And then I had like body aches and stuff. So we finally got into the hotel room. It took forever to check in because we couldn't get an early check-in. And then when we finally did, there was just like wasn't enough time for me to rest. So we just got ready, went to the concert, and it was so good, even though I felt like shit the whole time.
You actually held it together really well because I didn't think that you were as sick as you let me know you were
Oh my God, I
afterwards.
felt like hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not a big Taylor Swift person, but it was a really fun show and you were really happy. So that made me feel like it made me enjoy it more, seeing how
Yeah.
much you enjoyed it.
Well, and we had pretty good seats. We're in like the lower level, not the general admission where you're on the floor standing. So we did have seats, but we were on the lower level. It was like third row. So they're like really good seats. We bought them third party. They were literally like $1,300 each. And then the fee on top of it, it was like over $3,000. Like, I'm just going to say it. That's what it was.
Gross.
Renee from the mom room, I guess she's going to Germany to go see Taylor Swift, but she lives in Canada, in Toronto. She was saying that tickets to the Toronto show are $10,000. And so she was like, it's cheaper to fly to Germany, spend $1,500 a seat. We can see family while we're out there. And so it kind of made me curious, like, I wonder what prices are for the States, because she's going to finish her European tour. And then she's going to come back in October to the States, like Florida, Louisiana, Indianapolis, like a couple places. And I thought, I wonder how much those tickets are. Like, are they that as much as like the Toronto shows, like Canada shows? So maybe like $1,300 like isn't that much, but I mean, that's a lot of money still. And but even like despite being sick, it was so fun. The second you get there, you just feel like you're part of like this bigger community. People just trading friendship bracelets. I didn't have any of the bracelets. I forgot them at the hotel. We made a bunch before the trip and I just forgot them. But people still wanted to just give me their bracelets, and then I could start trading with other people. And it just felt very inclusive. And Paramore performed, and Paramore was absolutely incredible. Her voice is insane. Like, it was so good, and that just like brought me back to like my emo days. So that was kind of fun. And then let's see, what else do I want to say about? I'm trying to think of like what questions people were asking me about the Taylor Swift concert. Oh, everyone was saying, like, when I saw people going to Taylor Swift here in the States, like the first leg of her tour, people were saying like, my life has changed. Like, this was the best concert I've ever seen, all this stuff. And I love Taylor Swift. I'm a Swiftie, but I'm not like, I don't know all of her songs, and like I like listening to her. She's great. I think she's a great person. And Daphne, our 3-year-old, is obsessed with her. But I was like, did your life really change? Was it really life changing? Are you just saying that, like, what's all this hype? And it really was. It really was. Like, I wouldn't say it changed my life, but like, it was an incredible concert. There were multiple times where I got emotional. I was like trying to hold back tears because I don't want to be like this soppy mess, like in front of you, like make you feel uncomfortable. But I know, but like, I know you were like great, but like there were multiple moments where I just like started crying and felt very emotional. And she's just an incredible performer. She makes every show feel like it's her first. Like, she's probably done 100 shows, and she was so engaged with the audience. She didn't seem burned out. Like, she's got to be exhausted, and just her energy was up. Like, it was incredible. Such a good show. And I loved seeing all the moms there with their daughters, and just seeing like them take selfies and pictures together and being dressed up. And it just like made me think of our own girls. And, in maybe 5 years or so, like, we'll be doing those types of things with our kids, and just how special that was. That made me really emotional. If you do go to the concert, just be prepared to stand almost the whole time. We had seats, and there were times where I was like, I have to sit down. Like, I am ill. And also I apologize. Like, if people are like, you shouldn't have gone to the concert because you're sick. Like, what was I going to do? Waste $3,000 or try to resell them? There's no way I could have resold them for the same amount, because at that point, people are just trying to like get rid of seats. I just couldn't, I'm like, I'm going to go. Like, I haven't seen her before. Like, I'm here. Like, sorry. Like, it's just, I'm going to go.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry. I know it's like talking. Am I talking too much? I feel like I'm talking a lot.
I think you're talking a perfect amount.
Okay. I'm used to only talking to myself on the solos.
It takes the pressure off me.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else like to add about the Taylor Swift concert. It was just really good. I really enjoyed it.
Got a bunch of merch.
Yeah, we got merch. Yeah. Got 2 sweaters. I got like the white one. You went and bought me the white one because I was like, oh, I wish I would have gotten the white one instead. And then you like went, you were like, I'm going to go to the bathroom and like get a drink or whatever. And I think you did, but you brought back the sweater. I had got them blue crew neck as well. So that was fun. Yeah.
What a guy.
What a guy. And they are very soft.
Yeah, they're nice.
They're very
I'd
nice.
wear the hell out of it.
I haven't worn them since I've been back because it's been like 100 degrees, but definitely when it cools down, I'm going to be wearing that like nonstop.
Yeah, and it was just kind of like a sign of who the tourists were walking around Amsterdam as the people.
I know,
in the
afterwards.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and that was like another fun thing is like that night after we left the concert, we went out to get Burger King because we were starving. Like, I don't even think we ate dinner. We didn't even have time to really eat dinner. And we ordered that Caesar salad room service. And it was like
anchovies. And
it had like anchovies. Like the food is just different over there, just like a little bit different. But I was just imagining something else. And like, because I was sick, I'm like, I cannot eat this. Like, no. So we got Burger King afterwards, and the Netherlands were playing football in like the World Cup. I don't know who they were playing.
Euros.
Yeah, and they had won, and so the whole city was like electric, and people were, cheering, and there was like a couple times where it sounded like gunshots, and I was like, "We're American, like this is not okay. Like we're like this means something else where we come from." They weren't gunshots; it just sounded like it, and it was like startling me a little bit.
Yeah, people were lighting off loud fireworks.
Yeah,
in, like Burger King, and everyone's just chill about it. And
yeah.
The city was just very alive. There's just kind of an energy to the city, which was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really cool. That's like one of my favorite memories of traveling to Europe. When I was a teenager, we'd always go like in June or July, and they would always be having the World Cup, and just seeing like, the pubs just full of people cheering and just the games. That was always like kind of a fun memory. Okay. Well, let's see. Oh, the other thing I kind of want to talk about, I know we're like probably coming at time, but is like tantrums in public. Like one thing that's really hard just in general, but especially when you're traveling, is like, how do you deal with tantrums in a public place?
I don't know why you're looking at me like
I'm like,
the answer.
well, it's like a question, but also just like a statement.
Yeah. I mean, what was hard is in Paris, because we were so far away, we couldn't just pick her up and then just take her back to where we were staying, and trying Daphne, when she snaps, she's snapped. Mm-hmm. Like you can't just, here's tablet, here's candy.
Yeah, there's nothing, you can't go back. Once you say no and she loses it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So that was very difficult. It's a little easier when we were on the cruise ship. We could just take her back to the room. And then in Amsterdam, we were right there. Mm-hmm. So we could just take her back to the room. But yeah, it's very challenging. Even when you have somewhere to take her, any kid.
Yeah.
I feel uncomfortable when it's happening.
Just because of like how people...
I just feel uncomfortable because, I just don't know how to like resolve the situation, honestly, when it's like spiraled all the way out of control.
Yeah.
And your first instinct is just to like remove them from the situation, but where do you take them?
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. I think it's just like in general, we're struggling knowing how to discipline her. Just even at home, like what worked with Harper is not working with her. And she's kind of to the point where she's like she'll say things like, I hate you, and things that are like really hard to hear. And she doesn't mean it. She doesn't have like the emotional intelligence or like capacity to like use her words how she needs to, but it's really difficult. So basically like on the trip, it was just like a yes trip for the most part, I feel like, because I was afraid to say no, because then it would just ruin the experience for everyone, be more stressful on us. It's just easier just to like say yes. But I don't care if like my kid's throwing a tantrum and people are looking at me in public. That never like doesn't bother me at all. What bothers me is like when I can't get her to like calm down so that we can like continue our day. And that's like what's hardest for me.
Yeah, and the thing I really struggled with on this trip is I'm visiting all of these places for the first time. Yeah. So it's all brand new to me. The sensory overload, of everything that's going on. Just like the social anxiety. Our kids are feeling that stuff too. They just don't know how to process it. So if I'm struggling to process it and, understand what's going on, I can't imagine how difficult it is for them. So it's kind of just this paradox.
Yeah, that's very observant of you.
I put a lot of thought into that. So.
Coming from a place of compassion, compassionate parenting.
Oh shit, you got it on record.
Okay, well, I feel like that's like, I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
What was the hardest part of the trip for you?
Oh, the hardest part of the trip. I feel like just being sick was the hardest part. because I feel like I couldn't show up the way that I wanted to as a parent. I did push through like those days, you know, when you're sick on a European trip, you're not just going to like sit in bed, like you're there once. So I did push through. While doing that, like I just felt like shit. So I was even less patient and more on edge and, you know, more tired and fussy. So that was like really hard. It was just really hard to like be there for my kids and for my family in the way that I wanted to because I wasn't feeling well.
I mean, for what it's worth, I thought you held it together really well.
Yeah.
You know, and
Thanks.
I don't think anyone really picked up on that.
Yeah,
you know?
thanks. I was trying to just bury it.
Yeah. So
yeah, what was the hardest part for you?
I think, I mean, obviously all the stuff with the kids, but I think it was a very difficult trip for my sobriety. There's a lot of drinking that people were doing on the trip. You know, in Europe, it's not uncommon for people to be, you know, having a few drinks, you know, just pretty early on in the day.
Yeah.
Alcohol's everywhere. We went to the Anne Frank house and they had a bunch of like the pre-mixed gin and tonics and stuff that you could just get there. There was one night on the cruise where everyone at our table was drinking and I just had to get up and like go for a walk.
Yeah.
I think that was probably one of the most difficult things because I remember, you know, before I quit drinking, like that's how I would vacation I would drink, you know, and it alleviates your stress and, you know, doesn't.
Until it doesn't, yeah.
But yeah, I think that was probably a part I didn't anticipate being challenging because I'm like, oh, I got the shit in the bag. Like, it's good. You know, I don't think about it. I don't want to do it. It's not a hard thing for me. And then when I'm there, like on vacation where I don't have like the responsibilities of here and I'm used to like drinking on a trip, you know, and I don't want anyone to change how they vacation or not drink, you know, for my sake. So, but yeah.
I feel like that's like, yeah, I'm sure that was really hard. And especially because, like you said, like that's the way that we used to vacation. And that must have been like somewhat triggering. Is like, oh, like I used to do this and now I have to find like a different way. And other people are doing, you know, what I used to do. And that, you know, I have some feelings about that. I was really impressed. I'm very impressed with your sobriety overall, but especially like on the trip because that couldn't have been easy, especially because it was so stressful. I know for myself, I'm like, if I'm feeling like especially stressed, like I like to have a glass of wine, like at dinner. And it's just like a little thing that like takes the edge off for me. And so I can't, like you were feeling just as much stress as I was. And then just to continue on your sobriety and not compromise it really says a lot.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, we went to the red light district, which is a bunch of like drinking and stuff. And, you know, people were taking shots and, you know, it was fun to be around all that. You know, I mean, it wasn't extremely hard the whole time, but it was just an aspect.
There's like moments,
an aspect that I didn't anticipate beforehand. Like I didn't really think that it would have been an issue because it's not an issue here.
I feel like that's like really relatable. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. And because it is like drinking is very romanticized and glamorized and it really is just like everywhere. And it can, I mean, like I said, I love having a glass of wine and stuff, but like if you start using it for the wrong reasons, like it can easily become like a problem. And in society, it's not always looked at as a problem because it really is just everywhere. And on these cruise ships, you know, they have these drink packages and it's so funny because it's like you get 15 drinks a day and that includes like your lattes and your, you know, whatever. Your alcoholic drinks, but everyone in your room has to buy that package. Like you can't be in a room. Like I couldn't be in a room with you and me only buy the drink package.
I would have to get it and get like soda and coffee.
Well, they had a separate package for soda and coffee. It's not the same. And so, and then you're like, okay, well, I have 15 drinks. Like I'm paying a lot of money. Like I should get my money's worth. So then, you know, when you're on a cruise, like I see how people like overdrink.
Right.
You know, anyway, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else before we wrap up? I think it's been about an hour. So we probably don't want it to go too long.
I think it's good.
Okay. Well, thanks for listening. And if you have any questions, specific questions about the trip, send me a message on Instagram and I'll try to get back to you. Please rate and review the podcast. It helps so much. I look at the reviews every single week. I love when I get them. It makes me feel so good. It motivates me to continue to do this podcast. It really helps us in the algorithm in podcasting. So please rate and review and we will talk next week.